Hi everybody, good morning. Welcome to the September meeting of the Hawaii Board of Nursing. We're going to start with an informational video.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking, and as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras. Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Good morning. Good morning. It's September.
Yep.
I do not approve. It's the Board of Nursing meeting. I'm going to read you some information about attending virtual board meetings before I take roll call. If you wish to submit written testimony on any agenda item, please submit your testimony to nursing@dcca.hawaii.gov or by hard copy mail to the mailing address on the agenda. We request submission of testimony at least 24 hours prior to the meeting so that it can be distributed to board members. For virtual meeting access, if you are attending by internet to view the meeting and provide live oral testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You will be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will be asked for an email address. You may fill in this field with any entry in a standard email format. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chair asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chair will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking. If you're attending by audio-only access by phone, when the chair asks for public testimony, you may indicate that you want to testify by entering star and then 9. On your telephone's keypad, after entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you're finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to remute yourself. For both phone and internet access, when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If the connection to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time. The rescheduled meeting will be posted to the board's website. And instructions to attend virtual board meetings or any board meeting for the state of Hawaii is available on the board's website. All right, at this time I'm going to take a roll call of our board members. It looks like Jill's not here. Is that true? Still excused? Okay, so I'm Carrie Oliveira. I'm the chair. I'm present. Our vice chair, Jill Riggs, is excused today. For board members, as a reminder, if you are attending virtually, please indicate if you are alone in your location. Sherry Shields Hansen.
Present.
Riley Quo.
Present.
Karen Boyer.
Present.
And Terrence Aratani.
Present and alone.
Thank you. We do have a quorum, and so I'm calling the meeting to order officially. Okay, we're gonna start with, hold on, that's minutes. I've lost myself already. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take the agenda slightly out of order. I'm gonna start with the approval of the minutes from the August 1st meeting. We don't yet have the executive session minutes, so we'll be approving if there are any changes or edits to the open session minutes from August 1st. There is one note. At one point, Bradley Quo is referred to as the Bradley Quo. I'd like to leave that in the minutes. Other than that, there being no recommended changes, is there a motion to approve the minutes as circulated?
So moved.
Is there a second? That was Bradley.
Oh, sorry, Bradley.
Bradley.
Joel, so moved.
Who's the second?
Carrie Shields Hansen, I second.
Thank you for the second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries, the minutes are approved. All right, so taking the agenda back in order, the chair's report, announcements. The one announcement I have is Executive Officer Leanne Tajima has retired. Isn't that bizarre? It's bizarre.
Super bizarre.
She made a big deal about not making a big deal about her retirement. So there's no certificates or flowers or anything like that, but it means saying she was the executive officer of the Hawaii Board of Nursing for like 15 years-ish, something like that. In my mind, nursing regulation in the state of Hawaii is basically synonymous with Leanne's name. So her contribution has been enormous. Leanne, I don't know if you're listening. You would, because you're a weirdo.
Probably not.
Probably not. I hope not. But thank you to her for her service. Our new executive, not new, continuing executive officers, Chelsea and Alex will take very good care of us, I'm sure, but man, what a weird change that is. So thank you to her for her service. Other than that, I don't have any other announcements, but I do have a report from the NCSBN meeting, if you're willing to indulge that for a minute.
Love it.
I am. I'm excited.
Dolores was looking for you.
Oh, Dolores, California.
Yes, from California. She walked right up to us and was like, where's Erin? She didn't come this time. She's like, oh, I was looking for her. I was like, okay, I'm so sorry. So it was disappointing to her, but that's okay. So it was a 3-ish day meeting. So the first day was the Nurse Licensure Compact meeting. They made a couple of non-substantive modifications to the rules in the compact, so nothing changes the way the compact functions as we currently understand it. Interesting, though, they gave a policy update about states that have not yet joined the compact. So kind of between that report and our conversation with the California board, there are states now who are questioning the basic assumption that if you join the Nurse Licensure Compact, that your workforce is going to be impacted by that. So A, that the workforce will be impacted at all, and B, that any workforce impact will necessarily be positive. So California is actually forecasted to have a nursing workforce surplus by 2030. And so because they're the highest paid nursing workforce in the country, they're actually concerned that by joining the Nurse Licensure Compact, that it will entice nurses with multi-state licenses to flow into the state to work per diem jobs, which is already happening, by the way. They're like working per diem and then flying back to like, I don't know, Nebraska. You're making California money and living in Nebraska. That's kind of an enticing financial situation. So California is actually worried about an exacerbation of their surplus based on the compact. New York is sort of concerned about the flip side of the coin, which is if they join the Nurse Licensure Compact, there's no way to estimate outflows. So they're worried that there's some potential for a net negative impact to the workforce. So interesting that the conversation is moving away from like safety and discipline and toward sort of the basic assumption of why most states join the compact is a workforce impact. So interesting. No answers to any of these questions, but that's where the conversation is going. Okay, so outside of the NLC meeting, the regular meeting, I feel like NCSBN is feeling a little bit unloved by its member organizations. They were talking a lot about member engagement. They were complaining that there's been a lot of turnover in EOs in the last 5 years, or like since the pandemic, and so they've seen a drop off in member engagement. So they're trying to do a couple of things. One is a listening tour. There were no clear plans on what that exactly looks like, but I guess NCSBN wants to know how to better serve and meet the needs of member boards, and so they're gonna, I don't know, solicit information from boards. Not clear on exactly the mechanisms for that, unless Alex had a better sense of that than I did.
Not clear on the mechanisms for that.
Great, so not just me then. They also were talking about, I don't know, the research team asked the delegation about a data collection. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there's already very robust information about member boards on the member board profiles on NCSBN's website, like a ton of information. The researchers at NCSBN posed to the delegation, what other metrics would you like us to collect about you? Unclear what they're planning on doing with those metrics, but I think it's still sort of to fold into the member engagement aspect. So I feel like they're feeling unloved. So if you don't regularly, go visit NCSBN's website and join a knowledge network and make them feel desired. Yeah. There were shockingly not that many updates about big NCSBN things in the plenary sessions. There were some keynotes who I have no comment about. But in the president chair meeting, there were a couple of interesting things about NCLEX and nursing education, so I want to share those. No major updates on the NCLEX. They're no longer calling it Next Gen NCLEX, by the way. It's now just NCLEX, right? There was a question posed about whether the test has gotten easier, because we saw kind of big old spike in the pass rates after the clinical judgment questions were answered.
20%.
The amazingly super smart psychometric nerds who run the exam, oh my God, they were amazing. But they were like, no, our item analysis actually indicates the exam has not gotten any more difficult, but people perform really well on the clinical judgment questions. So the feedback they're getting from both the educators and the test takers is that it's a pretty authentic representation of both what they learn in nursing school and what they do in their first year of practice. So they're just performing authentically on those. And so it's lifted up the entire pass rate, but the knowledge questions are still as hard as they ever were.
That's good.
So there's that. A question I posed to them based on our curiosity about the availability of NCLEX access based on remote proctoring for the neighbor islands was whether they were thinking about implementing any policies that would prevent a student from taking the exam from someplace other than their home. So that may not be the ideal environment, right? It might be noisy, might not have good broadband access, et cetera. So could you take it from like a library, right? And so they were like, oh no, this is something we're thinking about. We don't have policies yet, but this is definitely something we're aware of. We're not planning on writing any policies that would prohibit a person from taking the test from any location that meets the security specs for the remote exam. So that's a win. Was really excited about that. There will be a stakeholder review process for the policies related to remote, they're calling it NCLEX at home, by the way. So the remote policies for NCLEX at home could there be a stakeholder feedback gathering situation? Not sure how that's gonna happen, sometime in mid to late 2025. So not super immediately, but that's coming. But I was really happy to see that they're not gonna, that it really is about expanding access. So I was pretty stoked about that. Couple of things related to nurse education programs that I thought were notable. There's a lot of conversation about regulating out-of-state nursing programs. I think people are kind of freaked out about Operation Nightingale, as well as, I don't know if you guys saw that Becker's article a couple months back about just lambasting the quality of DNP education in the country. So I think people are worried about that. As it turns out, there's a lot of states who don't actually regulate their own APRN programs. Like there's a bunch of state statutes that don't have a provision to regulate post-licensure education, including APRNs. So some states are like, yeah, we try to regulate the out-of-state programs. If we find out that they're in the state, the primary mechanism by which they find out they're in the state is when a complaint is lodged. So there's that. Other states just don't even have the mechanism to regulate their own in-state programs, so they're not worried about trying to regulate out-of-state programs. But this is something that folks are worried about, so I just wanted to let you know that that conversation was transpiring nationally. And then the last update I wanted to provide was that there is, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but in 2020, NCSBN came out with evidence-based quality indicators for the approval of pre-licensure nurse education programs. So many syllables. The evidence base there was sort of sketchy because there's a lot of inconsistency in how boards of nursing report how they monitor or regulate nurse education programs. So that's why NCSBN started their school survey annual report program. Now they have 5 years worth of data, so in 2025 they're planning on releasing a revised set of guidelines based on all the data they collected from the member boards. So that should be coming, which I think is really useful. And that's that. Any questions?
Thank you for representing us.
Go team. I don't know if you had a separate report.
I'm not on the agenda, so maybe I should.
I would love for you to chime in if you have one.
Sure. I guess there were a couple of updates from individual states on, new legislation and potentially conflicting with the NLC. One of the ones that jumped out at me was Florida told us that they are creating a standard endorsement requirement amongst all of their licenses. And so what that means for them is, amongst a variety of requirements for endorsement applicants, such as discipline within 5 years of applying, no pending complaints, no felony or misdemeanor convictions related to the profession, no suspensions, violations, voluntary withdrawal of license in lieu of suspension, unless the license has been restored. The requirement that jumped out to everyone was an endorsement applicant has to have practiced nursing within the last 3 of 4 years. So what that basically means is you can't get a license in a different state and then try and jump to Florida without having practiced at all in the last 4 years, 3 or 4 years before you apply. And so there was some concern, this was brought up during the NLC meeting, there's some concern that this would conflict with the NLC, and of course the NLC requires if you have conflicting legislation, the NLC is supposed to supersede. So that law is supposed to take effect on January 1st, and I guess time will tell how it bears out. But I think that's probably the one that's most
That is a good notable one, thank you for
worthwhile reporting.
reminding me of that.
That's a big deal. Must have practiced 3 out of the last 4.
Right.
That's,
And then I think one of the member boards asked, so what do you do if you haven't, right? And they said you gotta apply by exam, which means we're taking the NCLEX.
Yeah, so there is the exam provision will still remain, but bizarre. Florida, always exciting. Anything else, Alex? Anything fun from the EO meeting?
Well, they touched on that one again, and the groaning was the same. Canada said they're going to standardize their APRN licensure requirements, generalizing them so no specialization is required. I think some of the US boards said, well, that might cause problems if Canadian nurses try to come to our state and be an APRN because we have specialization requirements. And Canada basically said, this is more for us to streamline our process. It's not really for you guys. So
Sorry.
well, yeah. So
Which we can appreciate, but they're not dealing with the nurses, like saying, why aren't you recognized?
Oh my God, right? It's like, well, that's the issue is they're gonna.
So,
That's all right. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Right. Yeah. Those are the major updates that jumped out at me.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you both for representing.
You betcha. All right. Okay, so that concludes agenda item 2, which is the chair's report. So we'll move on then to agenda item number 4, delegation.
so, this is just a temperature check for the board. This is just for discussion purpose only. We're not making any formal decisions today. I kind of want to see how the board feels about possibly delegating a board member, licensed board member, to review applications outside of a board meeting that the EOs aren't able to approve. So this could be more nuanced towards the practice part of it, where it's questionable, but it might not be so severe it requires board review. Would the board feel comfortable? And this could help expedite and possibly lessen the amount of applications coming to the board every meeting as well. So it would be a specific set of criteria that this person would be able to approve, and it would be, with the board's approval, this person could do it, so. Kind of wanted to see how.
So I'm just gonna say, I wrote one of the notes I wrote on the applications today was, I don't know what the nurses think about that. So I don't have a problem letting the nurses interject on that. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what you envision the process to be. So we would give the applications to one board member. The board member would be like, yes or no on behalf of the entire board?
Yeah, and we would basically, they'd just be recommending the approval for it. And it wouldn't be like, stuff that would require, like, if it's a condition or a denial, it's gonna go to the board. So it would be stuff like, maybe it was a conviction that maybe the EO wouldn't be able to, say like, this is a safety issue, it's not, and that it would be more for the nuance of the nurse too, or the nurse member to decide.
Would the expectation be that if the person, the identified individual who was reviewing the application on behalf of the board decided to approve, okay, fine, what about a denial? Like, are we just gonna let one person deny an application?
No, so if it's
Okay.
a denial, it has to go to the board.
Okay.
So that, any
Okay.
denials, any type of, like, if we're gonna, they think that it needs to be conditioned in
Gotcha.
any way, that's all board, it'll be just referred to the board, it'll go past them and it goes to board review. But it's more just like the ones where you guys look at, like, I didn't have a problem with this, I don't know why this is on the agenda, it was because the EOs don't have delegation to approve. So this person would have slightly higher delegations because they are more experienced and would know what they're looking at than an EO would.
Does the DAG have any concerns about this?
So would this be in addition to the delegations already given to the EOs, like
I'm
for
thinking-
UIs and things like that?
I'm a little concerned with the broad spectrum of what the EOs are allowed to approve at this point. So I would feel more comfortable with the licensed member approving it rather than the EO making, because we're laymen, we don't know a lot, so.
So the distinction I'm trying to see is currently
It's more shifting it towards that.
Leanne or the the existing delegations to EOs. I think Leanne had a list
Yeah,
of like
so
one or
I'm-
two DUIs or something like that, or
It's pretty
trespass or shoplifting, or, so that's category number one.
Right.
And then for the board member to review applications in category, for example, number two, it's more practice-related or nursing-related, not necessarily criminal.
It could be criminal, like if it's directly related to the profession, that kind of thing, where I'm thinking we might want to revamp what the EO is able to approve. That's my thought.
Okay, so we're gonna revise category number one, and then have a category number two for board member.
Correct.
And board member would be slanted more towards the practice of
And
nursing.
Perhaps maybe the malpractice part of it could be approved, and that, because the board doesn't have delegation to even deny or condition based off of a malpractice, this licensed member would be able to be like, yes, I can approve this, we don't have any reason to defer or deny this applicant.
Right, so same standards for each delegation, category one and two. The board would have to define and specify what the delegations are, whether it be for the EOs or the board member.
So it'd be clearly defined, everyone would be on the same page of what this person would be able to, this board member would be able to approve and what the EOs would be able to approve. Everybody's on the same page. So I just kind of wanted to get a temperature check. Would the board feel comfortable delegating a licensed member to do this? And for the licensed member, the prospective member, there might be a little bit more time involved having to review the applications as well, so.
So i.e., be willing to make the time commitment is what you're saying.
Trying to say diplomatic.
We don't need diplomacy, we talk about logistics. Board members, thoughts?
This is Bradley. I have no issues with that.
Okay. Karen?
I'm trying to think of what the advantage is. I mean, I guess the advantage is less.
Less applications for the board to review at their meetings, essentially. I think a lot of the time, the comments I hear is like, I didn't have a problem with this, and we're getting looks like, why is this even, this isn't.
I actually don't see it that way. I see that this is actually a move towards more efficiency. And approving applications, appropriate applications faster and not delaying people's licenses that would normally get through the gauntlet.
And honestly, like, this particular profession, we're lucky we have a monthly meeting, so.
Right. Because most of the boards do not, correct?
Right, correct. So, I mean, it's still advantageous to our applicants, but I understand, we do hold up sometimes, so trying to improve that part. How does the board feel?
See, I was thinking about Karen. Karen is the canary in the coal mine, oftentimes.
Yep.
But I rotate off in a little under 2 years. So that means it's gonna fall to one of you all.
And by one of you all, you mean one of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Concerns, anything that you,
I sort of like having my peers, and when we're like, nope, no problem, 10 years ago, I like that degree of support in a way, or consensus, but I also can appreciate the intention as well as Bradley's comments of expediting these meetings and the license.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about this process expediting the meetings. I don't care about that. What I care about is getting the licenses moving
Yes,
forward.
to the
Yeah,
applicant.
so I just want to be clear on
Yeah.
my position there.
and I want to just add that you're not pressured, even if you have the delegation to approve it, if there's something that this license member feels like, oh, I don't feel comfortable, they can punt it to the board. That is their right to do, so at any time. I mean, we do that. Sometimes we do have the delegation, we're like, you know what, the board should weigh in on this, so.
And no, thank you.
Yeah. This is a liability. So that member would be able to do that, even if it's like an outright, you could approve it, you have within the delegation to do it. If something in that application feels weird, they are welcome to punt it to the board. That is something that they can do, so just wanna caveat that. So I think there's some applications where you would feel confident without the, and then if you feel like you need more input, you can send it to the board.
Yeah, I like the idea that the person will get their license without having to wait for the board meeting too. I like that for the applicant, thank you. Yeah,
So this might be for the November meeting, because Alex won't be here for the October meeting, so I kind of want everybody there. But we'll put together a metric, have the board review it. It'll be for public discussion as well, if they feel anybody wants to weigh in. So this is above board for everybody here or interested. So just putting that out there. So we'll be working on that. So I'm guessing I'm getting consensus from the board that you'd be comfortable with this idea.
I wanna check in with Terrence.
I'm very comfortable. In fact, I was on the board of public accountancy, and we had a licensed board member review the applicants. So when I came onto this board, I was wondering why this wasn't done for the nursing board. So I would support that effort.
I do think, though, this is Bradley, whatever you do come up with, I would like to see what is the process of actually selecting the board member.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and the board is gonna be selecting this person.
Sure.
This isn't gonna be, like, this is up to the board, so the board will be electing this member.
Okay.
The board will be deciding the metrics of which this member could approve applications outside. So this is
Okay.
all for the board to decide. And, you guys are welcome to make amendments to this list, or, you know, if you wanna add or amend or whatever you wanna do, we're open to it. I'm just looking at, in the event that we need to start reducing meetings for whatever reason, staffing issues, we'll still have a mechanism in place where applications can get reviewed and approved outside of these meetings, so.
So to be clear, it's ratified?
It's gonna be ratified, so,
Subsequent.
so it'll be processed, the license will be issued, and then that name will be on the RAT list.
Okay.
So it'll be formally approved by the board, so there is still that process as well, so.
Cool. Yes, go forth and
Okay.
assist us with that.
Thank you, board.
Yay! Yeah, does any person like to provide testimony on that agenda item? I keep forgetting to ask that.
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone wishing to provide oral testimony.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna move on to agenda item number 5, which is our executive officers' reports.
All right.
Go Yos.
So first item 5A, amendments to proposed amendments to HAR 168922. No updates since the last meeting.
I would like to make a proposal
Sure.
to the EOs. You can stop updating us if there's no update. So I would be okay with you dropping that off your report list until such time that there is a change in the status.
Sensible.
So no.
Then maybe you'll love the next one.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank
God.
No
Probably not.
updates on the random audit.
Will be dropped off, noted.
Oh my God, you guys are killing me. Do we have an ETA on when we might see, I don't know, like how the audits are doing?
We hope
Like,
by,
if they're done? Like an ETA on doneness?
by the end of the year, we're hoping to have a favorable update
I
from
need, I'm gonna throw this out there, not to interrupt the EO's report, but one of the things that I was supposed to be doing was revising the continuing competency guidebook. And I'm feeling very unmotivated to do so in light of the fact that we're not even actually checking on the continuing competency because the audits are taking so long. So I would like at some point for us to have a conversation about the continuing competency requirement to, I'm sure, lots of people's chagrin, but please, at some point in the future, not next time, maybe January. Okay, go team. Thanks, Alex. Sorry for the interruption.
All right, and then lastly, we have a joint statement regarding IV therapy clinics from Vermont.
Yeah.
I'll just maybe read the very beginning of that statement.
Mm-hmm.
So, the statement reads, "The Office of Professional Regulation, OPR, and Board of Medical Practice, BMP, have received complaints and reports about inappropriate activities occurring at IV intravenous therapy clinics and medical spas. These activities may include out-of-scope practice, delegation of tasks to unqualified individuals, and unlicensed practice of medicine. Nationally and in Vermont, it is becoming increasingly common to see retail IV therapy clinics or medical spas that offer IV, quote, cocktails of additives to saline that may include vitamins, minerals, or prescription drugs. They are marketed to consumers as treatments for conditions such as dehydration, fatigue, and hangovers, or to aid individuals with athletic recovery or weight loss. Vermont does not have laws and regulations that specifically govern IV therapy clinics and medical spas. Rather, these businesses are subject to the same laws and regulations that govern all spas and medical practices. We believe this advisory statement will benefit licensed professionals who provide such services at these businesses by providing clarity about the legal and regulatory requirements that apply. And the statement basically goes on to say that, IV therapy services do constitute the practice of medicine, and if you don't have the authority to be doing that, you shouldn't be doing that. And so, I think we wanted to ask if the board wanted to
Make a similar statement, or this could just be simply a FYI, this is what other states are doing regarding this issue. We do get inquiries about IV hydration specifically at least once a month, so.
Do we?
We do. Wow. But we do point them to the board's minutes. This
I was
is-
gonna say, we've had lots of
We've
conversations.
had lots of conversation, but this is something that other boards are doing, so we wanted to keep you guys abreast of what's going on.
So then, the board's position is clear then?
I believe it is. I think within the parameters of our scope. Some of it's unclear in terms of, I think, the compounding issue.
Compounding.
So and I think the last update we had was we were waiting on the FDA to give some kind of response to our inquiry, and to my knowledge, we haven't received an update. So I don't think we're going.
Well, I mean, I appreciated the definition of the parameters around RN compounding that Vermont specified. So I'm like, yes, RNs compound drugs into saline on a regular basis as part of their normal practice, provided that they have a prescription and orders to do so.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's the thing that we've always opined, is that
No.
as long as you have valid medical order and there's a prescription for the drug, that it's certainly within the RN scope of practice to administer.
Karen can test that, because that is not practice in the hospitals any longer. I mean, it's possible to do, but the pharmacy really does that. It is possible in some settings with, but in a standard med-surg unit, nurses are not adding medications to IV bags, to existing IV bags. Again, it is possible, and I think in specialty settings they do. But anyway, I have a hard time with standard practice or something.
Sure, but it's permissible within the scope of practice,
Mhm.
is really the question that
Yeah.
facility policy or normal practice, right, is different from what is inside the scope, so.
But I would also say that the hospital setting should not be the gold standard, honestly, because that is high, that would be very limiting, and that standard is potentially too high.
There are plenty of places where nursing care is delivered.
Correct.
Yes. Yes, agreed. So, to the previous Ito's question about whether or not we want to put out a policy statement, I feel like probably unnecessary if we have opined on this in the minutes to a degree that it is citable that you can guys provide a response to inquiries, so I don't think that we necessarily need to put that out.
I'll ask you to just give me the date of those minutes.
I can actually just quote it out, or I'll just give you the pages for it, yeah.
I mean, I
You're
remember.
gonna verbally
I
quote it out right
remember
now.
I'll read it to you.
discussions.
Is there you guys could put important announcements on the board's website. Is there an important announcement related to the board having had this conversation at some previous
I
meeting?
think we just pointed to the FDA's website from I don't know if we updated and we took it off, but I know at one point we had this was a discussion that was between the FSME and I believe the National Pharmacy Board and NCSBN. They had a joint meeting.
Right.
That came out in consultation with the FDA at the time, but I don't know if we took that off though. I'll check, but.
Can we push it toward the top of the important announcements? And then also, and if there's a way to also include our minutes as part of that posting,
Mhm.
that would, I think, probably be a useful resource for folks.
Okay.
Cool. Groovy. Thanks for that little notice. Okay, does that conclude the EO's report? Oh, that's it? You guys are no fun. All right, we'll move on to our next agenda item then, number 6, which is reports from Hawaii nursing organizations. And so we will hear from the Hawaii State Center for Nursing, Hawaii American Nurses Association, and HAPN, the Hawaii Association of Professional Nurses. We'll start with Hawaii State Center for Nursing, Director Reichart. Hi, how are you?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Sorry I'm not with you in person today. Got a couple updates. We had our annual strategic planning meeting, which is a little bit longer, and the staff gives updates, annual updates to our advisory boards. I'm going to pull some highlights from there. One is for research, our education capacity. Oh wait, I should start even though Carrie said my name. My name is Laura Reichart, the director of the Hawaii State Center for Nursing. Formal introduction is required. Okay, going back. Research, education capacity for the 2022-2023 academic year. That report is about to come out, and as always, there's really good insights about the health of our schools of nursing, as well as their contributions to our nursing workforce by producing new nurses. Related to our mandate on quality outcomes and best practices, our clinical nurse faculty support efforts continue. They're funded in part by the legislature. They've provided us $27,000 annually since starting in 2022. And we have trained 47 clinical faculty through the Connecticut Center for Nursing Workforce Clinical Faculty Training Course, 20 clinical faculty through the Health Impact 3-day training. That is California Center for Nursing. We also have a product called Nurse Tim that we contracted with, and that's for all faculty, full-time, part-time, and graduate students, and we provided that license for every school in the state, and we're evaluating those outcomes. So we're hoping to find, we're kind of still in the pilot phase, and we're hoping to find the best kind of suite of resources to support clinical faculty. And our first research symposium will be held next month on October 4th. We're at capacity, and also that's so exciting because it really shows that nurses are interested in nursing research and nursing engagement in advancing nursing care through research and evidence-based practice. So it's a really great sign of engagement, and we're very excited for that event. With recruitment and retention, I have some big numbers to provide. So we have generous funds. We've received generous funds since 2020 to support recruitment and retention efforts. That's from the Department of Labor, Workforce Development Council, the Hawaii Department of Health, Alcohol and Drug Abuse Division, and the UH Community Colleges Good Jobs grants. And in total, all of those we have provided directly to nursing recruitment and retention efforts over $800,000. And as a result of that, since 2022, we've had over 1,000 nurses trained in 2 specialty areas, over 900 nurses trained in preceptor training, over 900 nurses trained in acute care, new grad nurse residencies. And since we started that program in 2012, we've trained or supported over 2,000 nurses in residencies, and then we have a pilot for long-term care residencies, and we've had 12 residents and 9 preceptors trained in that specific setting. We have equal equal representation of rural nurses in these training programs as nurses in rural settings, so we have that good statewide and regional representation. And our acute care NRP program has a 1-year retention of 96%, and we've been able to keep that over time. And that's about 19% higher than the national average. So I just want to mention that because we talk so much about the stability of our workforce, the ability to keep nurses in our state. If local organizations are hiring new grads, how, like with continuing competency, Carrie, you were mentioning the continuing competency handbook, precepting and residencies are part of that. So I just want to recognize this engagement in the community, the strong outcomes, the strong retention outcomes, and also those really generous funds from across our state that we've been able to pull in to support nurses. So I just want to kind of highlight all of that together. Overall, in wrapping up, we're starting a intensive community focus group activity over the next couple months, and we'll be doing that across the Hawaiian Islands, and then that will lead to our development of strategic plans, and those 2 activities together are reinforcing our commitment to being community driven in our strategic priorities, initiatives, and activities. So we're really looking forward to that. And then finally, I have a question for you all. It starts with a comment. The comment is 772 nurses ratified on this agenda. My goodness, good job. But please also, EOs, if you could please give us our really, really deep appreciation for the PVL staff who are processing those licenses. That's a lot of work. I want to recognize them. That's incredible. So please do pass on our appreciation on behalf of the Center for Nursing. And then there was a question, I texted that to someone and they go, is that a record? So that's my first question, is that a record? And then two is, it would be really interesting, and it kind of alludes to a lot of the discussion you've held today. It would be really interesting to see how the monthly ratification list kind of plays out in terms of in-state residents and out-of-state residents, similar to what you have in the PVL geo reports. I don't know if that's possible, but that's always a curiosity of mine, because it's like, we're still 1,000 nurses short, but then the DCCA just ratified 772. What gives? So I would love to have a little bit of deeper data to help me understand that, so we can support that dialogue in the community. But please, let's go back and again thank PBL staff for all that.
Thank you, Laura. We cannot hear you, actually, so. It's
Hilarious.
I literally
I will
can't
send
hear
my
you.
notes. I will send my notes.
Thank you.
Maybe.
I literally cannot function in the meeting because I can't hear what they're saying, so I need a recess.
This is not okay.
Sorry about this.
So we're in recess for the moment until I don't know when. broadcast friends to catch up with us. Marcus is thinking face on. Okay, as a reminder, we are broadcasting live on Olelo right now, so we have to make sure that our friends at broadcasts are caught up with us as we make adaptations to our schedule. So thank you for indulging the recess. There is some construction happening at the DCCA building, and it's very loud, and we couldn't hear you. So Laura, I heard you ask about a report about the geographic distribution of new licensees. I didn't hear what the first question was, actually.
The first question was this a record?
Oh, was it a record? No, I don't think it was.
I'll have to get back to you.
I just crunched the numbers during this break, and in February, y'all ratified 1,072, so it is not a
I was
record.
gonna say no. I know we've had at least one time 800. I was the last number I remembered, so thanks for that.
But I did want to highlight, we only have 2 nursing clerks that are pumping out this amount, so.
Amazing.
Amazing. Thank you, licensing branch.
Yes,
Love
thank you,
you.
licensing branch.
Were you done with your report, Laura?
That was it.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate the updates from the Center for Nursing. All right, we will move on then to a report from the Hawaii American Nurses Association. We have Linda Beechnor, yes, we have Hawaii ANA Executive Director and Vice President. Hawaii ANA. Linda? Linda?
Hello?
Hi.
Ah.
Are you there? Okay, there you
I
are.
am here.
Okay.
And hi, this is Linda Beechnor. I'm from Hawaii American Nurses Association, and I'll expand on that in a moment. First, I wanted to congratulate the Hawaii State Center for Nursing for all their awesome work, and to chime in with them to add our support and applause to the licensing staff at DCCA who always work so hard for the nurses of Hawaii. And the second thing I want to bring up is that I want to introduce to you our new Hawaii American Nurses Association Executive Director, who started on August the 1st. And this is Elizabeth Kahakua, who is also an RN. And here she is.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, nice to meet all of you.
So this will be my last meeting, and you will be seeing Elizabeth's face going forward.
We will miss seeing your face, Linda. Elizabeth,
Thank you.
We will be happy to have you join us.
Thank you. I will. And oh, you said Elizabeth happy to join us, and yes. I will participate. I'm sure I'll jump in.
I'm sure.
Actually, she'll be next month as well, because I will be on vacation.
Sure. Oh, okay.
So I'll be joining in November.
Excellent.
Thank you for clarifying that, Elizabeth. I'm so relieved to have someone to take over my volunteer job, and she's not a volunteer.
Oh, good.
We look forward to having her on board long term. Okay, second thing I would like to bring up is that we are very concerned at Hawaii ANA about the Hawaii Nurses Association OPEIU situation and the strike and lockout threats and impact on nurses and our community. The key issue is a staffing ratio mechanism, which American Nurses Association and Hawaii ANA are in support of. We support a variety of staffing mechanisms, including ratios, if that's what works for our state. And we are finding that staff nurses in large facilities are in strong support of ratios across Hawaii. The staff nurses are standing up as a safety issue for patients, and they are licensed RNs who are taking a strong stand to protect the safety of patients. So we want to express our our real concern about that whole situation that's going on in our state. The third thing I'd like to mention is getting back to our association. We now have 448 members from the 17,000 RNs that we speak for across our state who live and work in Hawaii. Our conference, our annual conference, our 4th annual conference is on October 19th, and that is at Honolulu Country Club. We are in the midst of doing elections at this point, and we will have half of our new board will be coming on in January of 2025. We will have a new president, will be Denise Cohen, who's a professor emeritus from Maui Community College. She's our president-elect at the moment, so she will be our new president. And I will be staying on as the vice president of the association. So we'll keep you posted on that. We're also, of course, looking for sponsors for our conference at this point. We are madly looking for sponsors and getting people signed up for the conference. We have Jeff, what's Jeff's last name, Elizabeth? It's gone from Price Gainey is going to be our speaker, our keynote speaker. And our theme is the economics, the economic power of nursing. So we're looking forward to having 150 nurses at our conference. And that's about all that I had, and unless there's any questions or Elizabeth has anything further to say.
Cool. Any questions from the board members?
No.
Great. Thanks so much for the update. Welcome, Elizabeth. We'll be looking forward to your updates in the future. Linda, we'll see your face around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. And the last nursing organization we normally hear from is HAPN, Hawaii Association of Professional Nurses. Is that correct? Sounds right. Jeremy does not appear to be online today. So no update from HAPN. Okay. So that concludes agenda item number 6. We will move on then to agenda item number 7, which is, oh, sorry. Does anybody want to provide testimony on agenda item number 6 of the nursing reports?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone wishing to provide oral testimony.
Thank you. All right, now we will move on to agenda item number 7, which pertains to applications. In order to consider the confidential information considered in the applications, the board may move into executive session in accordance with HRS 92-4 and 92-5 to consider and evaluate personal information relating to individuals applying for professional and vocational licenses, and to consult with the board's attorney on questions, issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. So I move to go into executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bradley, for the second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. We are in executive session.
Do we want to see who's?
So is there anybody here who wants to provide testimony on their own application? We have one in the room. What's your name?
Rosalie Parker.
Rosalie Parker. Okay, we'll take note of that. Anybody else? Is there any applicant?
There are applicants, so I've
was that a go? Was that an action?
Yes.
Say action.
Action.
There we go, okay. Okay, so we're gonna continue with our agenda, we're gonna deal with applications here. So, first off, related to applications, I would like to make a motion to approve the ratification. Sorry. Is it fixed? Okay. The ratification lists for LPN, RN, and APRN licenses is appended to the agenda for this meeting. Is there a second?
Karen seconds.
Karen, I'll take your second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right, we're gonna do our applications for licensed practical nurses. Is there a motion related to the LPN application for Jacqueline Jordan?
Yes, I make a motion that we, wait, are you just gonna do all the ones we accept?
I'm gonna go, I'll ask for, you know, if they're not all if they're not a bunch,
Okay,
you know?
I got you.
Okay.
So Sherry Shields Hansen makes a motion to approve Jacqueline Jordan's application.
This is Bradley, second.
Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Okay, is there a motion related to the LPN application for Kelly Newfield?
Yes, this is Sherry Shields Hansen, and I make a motion to approve her application on the condition that 1, she retake the NCLEX, or 2, complete an approved refresher course due to statutes 436-B-19-1 and 457-8B2.
Is there a second?
Karen seconds.
Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to our registered nursing applications. So, before we get into voting, we are going to defer the application for a decision on the application for Nicole Deloach Brissette for additional information for proof of compliance with an existing order from the California board. We're also going to defer the application for Alice Petionette for additional information from the Florida Board of Nursing. Okay, can I get a motion related to the application for, wait a minute, I lost track of my notes. Do you have a motion related to RN applications, Sherry Shields Hansen?
Yes, should I go through all the approvals first? So I motion to approve the applications for Tisha Farrell, Samara Sims, Ashley Van, Audra Cottrell, Andrea Uelecki, and Larice Panagillon. Sorry about that, Larice. Aglion.
That one has a condition on it though, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, excuse me.
So excluding the
Excluding
Larice
Larice, okay.
Panaligan. Okay. So the motion is to approve those applications? Is that true?
Yes, that's
there-
my motion,
is there a
to
second?
approve those.
This is Bradley, I second.
Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Okay, is there an application, or is there a motion related to the applications for Rosalie Parker and Larice Panaligan?
Yes, I make a motion to approve on the condition that they, 1, retake the NCLEX, or 2, complete a refresher course for statute 436-B-19-1 and 457-7B2.
Is there a second?
This is Bradley, second.
Thank you, Robert, for the second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Okay, so that's an approval. Whichever is the NCLEX, or take a refresher course. Any questions?
Only when I go to sign up to retake the NCLEX, so that's the faster option. Horrible, but faster option. Is there anything during that sign up process that needs to be different
great question.
We will let you know in our letter.
So you'll receive a written correspondence from the executive officers providing all the information you need to know for this. That's your inclination. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chair Shields Hansen, for the motions. I appreciate that assistance. All right, now, in order, we have an adjudicatory matter pursuant to Chapter 91, so we do need to go into recess at this time.
This is Bradley's second.
Do we need a motion? No, I'm just calling a recess. He was ready, though, ready with the motion.
I love you guys,
expedient.
because some of our boards, sometimes we're just like, somebody make a motion. wait, I have to call.
This is so dramatic.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, we're back. Thank you very much for your patience on that while we recessed. The next item on our agenda is an announcement of our next meeting, which will be held on Thursday, October the 3rd at 9 a.m. in the Queen Lilit Wokalani room for those of you who plan to attend in person. That's downstairs on the first floor. Unless something changes, watch the agenda. It'll get posted. All right, and that concludes the agenda for today. We are adjourned. Mahalo nui, everybody. Have a great day.